Okay, and we are live.
Heyo.
Hi, Luke.
Hey,
It's
what's
been a
cooking?
it's been a crazy kind of week for me. I just got back from New Jersey,
Yeah, nice.
and I'm going to St. Louis on Sunday.
There you go.
So,
The traveling man.
so interesting things going on. When I was in New Jersey this past week, I spent some time in a green room, and they were recording my avatar, my digital clone. And I was very reluctant to do it because I don't want people having the ability to have a bunch of words coming out of my mouth. But I did it anyways, and we'll see how it is. You remember that show? Had to been in the 80s, maybe 90s, Max Headroom?
Yeah,
That's what it reminds me of. Because I'm standing there and I'm moving and I'm actually wearing the same jacket. It reminds me of Max Headroom. I don't think
that's
it's there
funny.
yet. I don't think we're there to replace people just yet.
Were they doing that for like your training modules and stuff, or like a classroom type setting, or was
It's a
it just
really
for
great
for
question. So that's why I was very reluctant to have a digital clone created because I didn't
yeah.
know. And it's not unusual for me to find out things after the fact. They took one of my old videos as a demo and they made it so I speak Spanish, which was pretty cool because
All
it
right.
changes your mouth. And
Yeah,
but the reason why I wanted to bring this up because I know that you're using your digital clone, and I think that it would be extremely valuable to those who watch this. Wanted to hear kind of how you're utilizing it. I think I've noticed that you're using it on your social media ads. You're using it, I think, mostly on TikTok is what I'm seeing them on.
yeah. I ran a test for a couple months. I was using Captions app, or Captions AI, I believe it is. They have a pretty nice user friendly app, mobile app. But same concept. You essentially record about like a 5 minute video of yourself just talking. They run you through like a script, that you can record your voice and your mannerisms and everything. They had a pretty decent, just completely 100 complete percent autopilot short form video where they use your avatar. You essentially download your what you do, niche, all of this, and they create it, just automatically creates and posts scripts. And I ended up stopping that, though. I'm not doing it anymore. And it was mostly due to the fact that essentially the platforms were able to identify AI content and stuff and just crushed reach. So, where, maybe, on, a normal post, you get, for me, I'm not like, I don't do a whole lot of it, but anywhere from like 1,000. I mean, sometimes I'll get one to pop off and get 20, 30, tens of thousands of views, but the reach on those ones just decimated, like in the 100, 200, maybe 300 view range.
Okay, so that's interesting that you said that. So what I heard you say is that you utilized it, but you stopped utilizing it because
Hmm.
you're getting penalized by Facebook, by TikTok, by Instagram, whichever one that you're using, probably even YouTube. You get penalized by using it because they're promoting unique
Yeah.
content. So, are you using it for anything else? Maybe for learning? Do you have an internal platform that you're utilizing the AI for?
No, not so much. I mean, I obviously use it for a lot of other stuff, but not the avatar clone. I mean, I think in like a self-hosted environment, it could be utilized very effectively. Um, but you know, on the on the socials, it was just, which, you know, at in on the grand scheme of things, like, you could definitely leverage it, with with the proper architecture, create dozens and dozens of accounts and just post it, across everywhere. We, in this day and age, we like poo poo like couple hundred views, which I think we've touched on before, where you're like, have you ever spoke in front of a room of 200 people and you're like getting
Yeah.
upset about like only getting
I
200
only got
views?
200,
I
200
only got
hits.
200 views on this video, which, we all measure and judge based off of like those like insane numbers that we see, but like it's still pretty, I mean, so there's definitely some applicability, but as of right now, I think the platforms identify the ability to for people to really abuse it, and they did a pretty remarkable job of being able to pick up that it's not genuine.
Well, I can tell when I read certain things on how much influence AI has had into it. I think
Yeah.
people are doing what they've done and everything is that they tend to go too heavy, too fast into it. I still use it quite a bit just to build out a framework, but then I spend a lot of time in editing.
Hmm.
It has decreased my, I guess my initial creative, my first draft. It has reduced that time, which is typically for me the longest amount of time
Right.
it normally takes is just to get the framework out. So that saved me a tremendous amount of time on that. But what's interesting is that I'm seeing that a lot of real estate agents, it's a lot like just social media, and it's a lot the same way as we look at just the internet, is that they're not understanding the fundamentals of things and they don't get it, and they're trying to get it, but there's
Yeah.
just a lot of information all over the place, and it just ends in confusion and frustration, and people just throw their hands in the air. So what's interesting that you just said to me, which makes a total amount of sense, is these platforms want attention. And in order to get attention, they've always been very dominant on unique, creative, unique content.
Yeah.
So for AI to come out and people just start mass producing content, they're now penalizing that because they're going to make sure that the unique content continues to get driven because that's what's getting watched. Because when I watch my avatar, and I've seen other things, look, some of our classes are like 90 minutes, some of them are an
Right.
hour. Why would anyone want to watch an avatar? I mean, read from a script.
Right.
And it would be a script that wasn't even written by me. It would be a script that was probably written by an attorney. And there's no mannerisms, there's no tonality, there's no real time dad jokes that I would
Yeah.
normally throw in. So I'm glad that you said that because I don't think it's as important as what people would think. Now, transitioning to that, Avatar not India way, I do think that agents need to understand or professionals need to understand the fundamentals of a prompt because artificial intelligence could really. You and I said one time, and we weren't the ones who admitted it or created it, but it's not AI that's going to put someone out of business. It's the person who's utilizing AI as a tool because
Yeah.
and it's no different than the industrial age when the cotton gin was created. It created a machine that took people out of the fields and doing it by hand and did a 10x overnight. I think this is where we're at as well.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the i- we, yeah, as you know, we lean very heavily into in a lot of stuff, and we're constantly testing, pretty much, anything that we can get our hands on with AI. And it's remarkably good. I mean, even though the AI voice stuff is not, spot on yet, like it's 95% better than most agents. Period. Flat out.
So go
It's
deeper on that.
objection handling, like,
You
yeah,
and I have talked about this in the past. Is AI will follow your instructions. Period. The end.
yeah,
You and I have trained, and we met when we were on the phones. But the challenge is when you practice, you get better. Whereas AI, when something gets said, and you already have a predetermined response, they'll just say it. There's no. So is
Yeah.
that what you mean by that? Is that it?
Well, I mean, it has its capacity to be able to think on its own, right? So, but you can put guardrails on it. So it's like the temperature check. You're like, hey, don't deviate at all from this script. Like, stick to it, hard and fast. But or you can give it the flexibility and freedom to kind of ad lib a bit, but still stay on topic. So this kind of goes back to like your prompting comment about, it's important how you teach it, how you train it, and like how much flexibility and leeway you want to give it. But really kind of like the main thing that I see is it's like, and we used it pretty heavily like B2B for a long time. I've kind of toned that back a little bit to refine things, but the like we're doing outbound calling to mortgage and real estate folks, and it would it would not take no the first couple of times. Like it would get pretty, it would be pretty persistent with trying to move the conversation forward and things like that, sticking to general like best practices principles, in it, which most real estate and mortgage people I've come to learn absolutely wing their sales
Oh,
process.
for
Like they
sure.
don't have any, like, that's probably one of the most underappreciated skills in the industry that people don't hardly spend any time on. And you could tell the people who have focused and put time, effort, and energy into like practicing their scripts and doing that. And I mean, that firsthand, intimately. But it's mind-boggling to me. Like I will listen to people's sales or like kind of ask them, and it's like, what do you do? You even know what you're doing in this job? Like it, it's
Yeah.
painful to hear some of these people were like, I got a lead. I just asked them if they wanted to apply for a mortgage. Like you didn't ask them anything else.
That
Like
it?
you just went like, hey, my name's Rick. Like, would you like to apply for a mortgage?
Hey, you're hot. You want to get married?
Seriously, you're like you're like I feel, I mean, obviously I have experience and in doing a lot of stuff, but I'm like, has has nobody ever talked to you about like how to like have a conversation with people and move somebody from a complete stranger to like, so, and that is where, like, that is a huge part where somebody like Rocket could slap on an AI and just decimate, market, the head count in the industry.
I think that will happen probably sooner than what we think
Oh yeah,
because of
for
the
sure.
advancements of how fast things are going. And I think I shared this story with you before. I think this was back in like 2017. I was in Vancouver. I think I was at a T360 event, and there was a futurist that they were talking. He was up on stage and talking about AI back in 2017. We had Siri, we had Alexa, and at the
Right.
time, where it was at, it was pretty cool compared to where we have come from. And we know even today that people do business with people who they know, like, and trust.
Hmm.
And so that's always been the thing, is that our jobs are safe as sales professionals or any professional, any service professional, because that's pretty much the truth with everything. But then the guy highlighted, he's like, look, but what about the next generation? What about our children? You see, our
Yeah.
children, they're interacting with Alexa, they're interacting with Siri, they're interacting with Google, and they're creating this relationship with these artificial intelligence, and they're growing with them, and they come to find that when they have questions, they go ask it and they get good answers back. And
Yeah.
so they build this trust. So now you fast forward into where we're at today. That was 2017. We're now in 2025. Look where we're at now with all of these different language models.
Yeah.
Then you throw into the mix that Elon Musk is building, not just him, but a lot of people are building these humanoid robots that can walk, and they're powered by AI, and they're having
Right.
artificial emotions and personalities. So, I mean, that could very well be some really trippy things.
Yeah.
Like, who
There
knows
goes
what that's
there,
going to look like?
there goes your buyer's agent.
Yeah,
Yes. Hello, human. Yes, I can open this door for you.
yeah, yeah. So it's going to be interesting on that, but we're not there yet.
Yeah,
I
for
think the
sure.
robo taxis are going to come. Elon Musk is saying something about 2026. I'm going to buy one of those. I'm most definitely going to get on the list for one of those. Number one, I don't like driving. Number two is if I drive somewhere, let it go back into the network and go and pick up rides and such, and then
Yeah,
come pick
that's
me up when it needs to. I think
freaking
that's going to be really cool.
the capacity to be able to earn, you know, passive income while you're not using your vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, I
is
still have my
genius.
Benz, my C series Benz. I drive it less than 3,000 miles a year. In fact, to the point that the insurance company has me take a picture of the odometer every single year because they don't believe
Oh
me.
no shit. They're like, no, we don't believe you. You're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm
No, I
serious.
really
Like
do.
they're like, yeah, you're undoing that and rolling it
Yeah.
back. Sure.
From a financial point of view, it'd probably be better if I just Ubered no matter where I went, because on the long enough timeline, when you take into insurance and you take into gas and wear and tear and tires here and there, I would probably come out ahead if I just got rid of it. But I'm not a big fan of not. That would only leave us with the Tesla. And when I saw the fires decimate Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
it really posed a problem for those with electric vehicles. I'm
Mm,
not ready to go 100% electric just yet. I,
yeah.
I I'm in that transition phase. Need to have a gas car that I drive less than 3,000 miles, but it's a gas car, and
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's uh, having, that's a very real reality. And I don't, you know, I can't. Yeah, I think it'll be a long time before that's ever, we're full electric on everything. I think there's still going to be a good subset of folks that appreciate their gas.
there's other technologies that are in play that could affect that. I mean, there's nothing set in stone.
No,
I think Elon's going to make it to Mars. I mean, it's things he's doing
that'd
with
be-
rockets is pretty cool, and that's AI. We couldn't do that without AI. As we become more and more and more and more advanced, the whole "we didn't land on the moon" theory starts to make a lot more sense. Like, I didn't even give that any type of credibility years ago, but now it's just like you're telling me that my calculator has more operating power than the Apollo,
yeah.
and we're having this much trouble going back to the moon, and so yeah, that's a whole conspiracy theory that
I'm right there with you. That was just a Cold War propaganda, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like you're like, yeah, that's doesn't quite add up,
doesn't
but
quite add up. But then that's like the ultimate secret, that how did they keep that under wraps for so many years? And that was the thing I
hey,
saw on Joe Rogan, is that how could you have thousands of people, various different countries? How did everyone keep the secret?
right. So
Because
lots of
nobody keeps
effort,
secrets. Because what
right?
will happen is like, hey, don't tell someone I told you this, but
But
yeah.
yeah,
So what are you doing? So you're not. So you're just running. You're doing your own videos. You're doing your own ads. That's how you're doing things. Driving them to landing pages. Maybe use your AI internally, and I think that's what we'll end up using those for, is internal platform
yeah.
promotions, introduction to various different courses.
I mean, with a huge, um, you know, I mean, you guys. have such a huge organization, I mean, that makes tons of sense. Like you can take, every single one of your, um, you know, physical trips to a location and slap that, onto an avatar or feed it into, Brett AI and be able to whip up, tons of different training material and coaching material that would have huge value to the organization. Um, but yeah, so internally for myself, still trying to blend, uh, don't blend that old school and new school, because it still works. It's very effective, the human touch, and but not to let off the gas on testing and trying, and continue to push the bar where I can.
Well, I think for the near term, people shouldn't be too worried about. I mean, they should be focusing on AI, most definitely. But to your point, they need to focus on their skill set. If AI right now is kicking your butt because your skills aren't better than a robot that's just following a script and following instructions, you've got some serious problems within your organization. And what's interesting with that is there's an opportunity for real estate agents, for really anyone, because the traditional sales activities are still being promoted. They're still being promoted. I see it all the time. I see these gurus come up on various different platforms teaching people how to manipulate, how to persuade and manipulate.
Right.
And what's interesting with that is that most of the time they're not even going to get a chance to persuade and manipulate because most people don't answer unidentified numbers. I pulled the data on it. I'm going to do a report on that. There was a report in 2012 on cold calling, and I was
Hmm.
curious about it. So I went down a rabbit hole with ChatGPT and Grok because I use them both, and found some recent studies in regards to it. Um, Look, it aligns with what you and I think. It's highly. Is it effective? Yes. Is it highly inefficient? Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
But no one, you're not going to get that many times at bats to do it. So you're putting all this time and effort into an activity that you're just not going to get time at bats. So I think the best way to handle objections is to understand what the consumer wants and just be fully transparent. Consumers want to know what they get for the money. Two components: how
Yeah.
much do you cost, and what do I get out of it? And then the third component is going to be when they calculate value, how does that align with another service or product? Goes back into Alex Hermosi. When a consumer compares a similar products and services and they don't see any unique difference, the lowest price is going to prevail.
Right.
So my thought is stop being so obscure
Commodity. Right.
and just be fully transparent on what it is. I recruited a massive amount of agents when I was in that role, and I didn't do it by cold calling. I didn't do it saying, "Hey, let's go have some coffee." I did it because I'm just like, and I, in fairness, I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I will always say I don't want to waste your time. Really, what it is, I don't want to waste my time. And I know
Right.
that if I have someone sitting across from me that doesn't know what I offer, what the product and services that I offer, and they don't know what the price is, they are incapable of making a decision. So what's going to happen is that you're going to burn 2 hours and they're going to have I need to think about it.
Yeah.
I did that. I mean, you and I did it way back when. I mean, we didn't
Right.
realize we were doing it, but we did it. We understand a lot more of our methodologies now on why we did
Right.
things and where we got to, but it's just, I don't know why it's rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah. The you were touching on like the phone stats and not answering. I think that in and of itself is where AI, um or people who use AI will completely dominate people who don't. Because we'll see it internally all the time. We have lenders that are constantly reaching out and calling real estate agents.
Yeah.
They don't answer their phone,
Nope.
period. Like, you're in the business of like answering your phone. I mean, obviously, I appreciate people who like to manage their schedule, but if you're not going to answer it, it should be going somewhere. Like, somebody should be answering it. You can have but AI picks up the phone and AI handles 100% of the calls. And you know, you're going to miss every opportunity you don't take. It's like the saying that we always go back to, like, if somebody doesn't know you, they can't do business with you. If you're not answering your phone, you know, people aren't going to wait around. You know, if they go, you know, you could be the number 2 spot on Google Maps. You Google chiropractors near me. Well, if you call the first business and they don't answer, you're probably going to call the second business. And if that second business, even though it's second, and they answer, majority of the time they're going to win that business.
So I'm going to share with you something that literally happened like 30 minutes ago.
Okay.
Dana has a rash, and she's just been suffering
Yeah.
for it for the longest time. And so this morning, you know, she did a week ago, she did a worthless call to the online or the virtual doctor.
Yeah.
It was just those things are just cash grabs. You don't get anything about it. The savings is the time that you don't have to drive somewhere, because
Right.
it probably would have been the same thing. But we went to ChatGPT and Grok. Those are our two different people that we asked.
Right.
Because you have Grok Doc, and then you have
Grok Doc.
you know, ChatGPT. But it talks about,
Got to have multiple opinions.
yeah, but it talks
Yeah.
about going to a dermatologist. Well, you know, it's what time is it now? She called me right before you and I got on here, so it was around 8:15, 8:20 Pacific time, and she called like 3 or 4, maybe more, dermatologist office, and only one of them answered the phone. And
Right.
she's like, I don't care. That's the one I'm going to, and it's in Newport, you know, where you used to live. So it's you know, it's 20, 30 minutes away, but
Right.
she got the appointment. So to your point, the one who answers the phone is typically the one who's going to get the business.
Yeah.
But typically, bringing it back into real estate, what we find is that 81% of all sellers, 81% of all sellers, they only meet with one agent. No, 88% of all sellers only meet with one agent before they actually choose one to work with. So,
Right.
you know, there's a different dynamic. I think there are some that are shopping around, but I also think that some of them are getting to know you, like you, and trust you online beforehand. Right. So with that, I didn't realize the time. It's 9 o'clock. I'm sure that you have things to do. I just got notified a meeting started without me.
All right, let's get it, my man. Happy Friday.
I'll see you next week.
Rock and roll.
Bye.